Welcome. This is Marnie, and you're here with me and Michele Chynoweth today on Get Your Book Done. So, we are going to be talking in the next half hour about how to wake up every morning with renewed passion to write your book right now, and also how to get back in the driver's or the writer's seat with a roadmap to get your book done. You'll learn about writing, publishing, and marketing your book like a pro, having more credibility by being an expert thanks to the prestige of your book, making more money due to book sales and getting higher fees. We'll talk about how to finish your book in a fraction of the time and also how to use simple steps to make the process faster, easier, and better. Our guest today is Michele Chynoweth. She is a speaker, book coach, and best-selling author of several award-winning contemporary suspense novels that reimagine Bible stories. She loves helping writers become authors through her Your Book Done Right masterclass and elite coaching. And you can learn more about her over at her website, michelechenoweth.com. And also you can invite her to speak via womenspeakers.com. So excited to welcome you here. Hi, Michele.
Hi, Marnie. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to be together. We always have a good time when we hang out. So this is fun. And you have a master class just coming up here. So for anybody who wants more than we can share today, just go over and figure that out with her. And some of your people in the past have had really good success taking that class.
Absolutely. All these books behind me and then some. I rotate them on my shelves because they all don't fit on my screen. Have been finished, edited, published, and marketed through as students of my masterclass.
So
the next one starts September 3rd and runs through October 22nd. So all are welcome.
Cool. Well, we're going to dive in and give you guys a bunch of great stuff today. And then you can follow up later with Michele if that's of interest to you. So I always get up in the morning pretty excited for the day. That's just how I am. And one of the reasons I think that is because I'm doing what God created me to do. And when we are on track with God's plan and design, when he strung together your 3 billion base pairs of DNA, he did it in a particular way. Everybody's different. And if you have a book in you that you're supposed to write and you start doing it along with God and with his plan, you are going to be able to get up in the morning and be excited to do that. And so I'm so excited to have you here today with us to be discovering a few more of these steps forward for you. So Michele, how about you? What's morning and how come you can get out of bed and be excited about writing a book?
Well, I am excited about writing my next book, as I also am a book coach, teaching, and as a professional editor and speaker, and with you today. What excites me is now knowing that I'm working for God. And that's a big difference for me. I didn't start out that way, but I look back now and see God called me to write the books I'm writing today. I started out, I was in a very self-centered place where I just wanted to be a rich and famous author. And I was in a dark place like Job. And it's funny, God called me. I look back now and see that still small voice was God saying, you should write a book based on the Bible story of Job. And it wouldn't let go. Now I can see I was in that, Job lost everything. I was losing my marriage, felt like I was losing my kids who were becoming teenagers, losing my business, which was an ad agency of 20 years through the recession in the late 90s. And then losing my health through the disease of alcoholism. And fortunately, God brought me through all that. In the 8 years it took me to write the book, I fought him. I was not happy with God and all that I thought he was sending me as trials and tribulations. I now see they were the choices I was making, but luckily he brought me through. New marriage, great guy, have great relationships with our blended family of 5 kids, and now living the dream of doing what I love, which is being a book coach, and then 21 years in recovery. So I wrote that book, and I then wrote the next one, The Peacemaker, based on the story of Abigail and King David and Abigail. And she went through a bad divorce, and a friend suggested I write that. And I started to connect with people by writing these books and not only helping myself, but helping others, and realizing I wasn't doing this anymore to become rich and famous. Although I have become, well known and made a living from it, and you can too. Uh, but I was serving God by getting the message of these stories across. So it made all the difference.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's just it for me too. It doesn't really matter what he has me doing, as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. There's a lot of joy that comes with it and energy that actually comes with it too. So, getting back in the driver's or the writer's seat with a roadmap. So, tell us just briefly about what a roadmap is.
Okay. Many people many writers tend to not get their books done, sadly. And it breaks my heart, actually. They take so many conferences and workshops, and then, like me with the first book, 8 years later, 10 years later, they're still, wondering why it's not done. And a lot of people face writer's block. Jerry Seinfeld actually has a funny spoof where he says, the number one fear is public speaking, and death is number two. And he's like, wait a minute, that can't be right. You mean to tell me people would at a funeral would rather be in the coffin than doing the eulogy? It's just a funny spoof, but in reality, writer's block is real for a lot of people. They either have doubts and fears, like, am I good enough? Which we all struggle with in life. They, doubt whether they're really a writer. They have imposter syndrome, as many of you know about, and they just question whether they can do this. But I love the passages in the Bible. They're my guides.
Yeah.
Romans 8:28, and we know that I'm going to read it, and we know that for those who love God, all things work for good for those who are called according to his purpose. I truly believe when you have a desire to write a book, God put that dream on your heart. And it doesn't have to be a Christian book per se. I think we need to reach out to the secular world as well with messages of love and faith and hope and courage and all those good messages that, redemption that we need to get across, in a variety of books, right? And each one he puts on our heart. And to doubt him is to not really trust him, which, he calls us to do. So then he says, in 2 verses later, Romans 8:30, and those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. And those he justified, he also glorified, which in short means he didn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So nobody's born being a good writer. They need to learn how.
Yeah.
And, so we come to the table with a blank screen and doubts and fears, maybe writer's block. And what I teach and what I want to tell you in answer to that question, and actually dovetailing it to the first, you need to have a plan. So I want to tell you right now, and I go into this in further detail in my class, but you need to have a roadmap, and I call it a chapter outline. So whether you're writing fiction, nonfiction, devotionals, whatever you're writing, you need to have a chapter outline that tells you where you're going next. So you might have an introduction. Just write down a few sentences. What is the introduction about? And then if you're writing nonfiction in particular, and your table of contents, and what is each point you're trying to make in the overall theme. For a novel, you write down, what happens in the beginning, what happens next. You build suspense usually to a climax, and then you have a fallout ending. I like happy endings. So you write this out so that when you wake up in the morning, you're excited to get writing. So I can definitely help you with that. But I would say, get some type of plan and chapter outline down, and then schedule your writing, just like a doctor's appointment. Put away all distractions, hang a sign on your door, just like you would a doctor's appointment. Get rid of your phone, your social media, and strictly sit down to write. And it might take a while, but once you start writing, either every day or for chunks of time, like a couple hours, I usually need a couple hours. I can't just write in 10 minutes a day. And you'll get in a zone or in a flow, and then you'll look forward to it. And your words, trust me, will come easier. And um, and then the more you write, the better you'll write.
Yeah, love that. It's hard to get somewhere when you don't know where you're going. So
Yeah,
it's good to have a
right.
roadmap. Good. What are a couple strategies? And because our time is short here, we'll just limit this to a few, but a couple strategies to help write, publish, or market your book like a pro.
Wow. I could spend hours on that,
I
right?
know.
Which I do. But in a nutshell, you have to learn the craft. Nobody is born a good writer. So again, but you need to take the steps. So God qualifies the called by providing through me and others workshops, writing classes, this master class, which I feel like he called me to do because I love helping writers, to teach you how. So it's basically an 8-week, 8-step process, but you start with the outline, you ask yourself why you want to write this book. You have to have goals in mind, right? Where do you want it to end up? I mean, do you want it just as a legacy to your family, or do you want to reach the world? I always had big dreams, I still have big dreams, want to reach the world, right? And there's nothing wrong with that because I think God wants to get his message out to the world. So don't be afraid to, want to sell copies. And in that regard, you do need to be your own best publicist and marketer. I have 30 years of marketing experience. Like I said, I owned an ad agency, in the corporate world as a marketing director. So I can help you with that. We look at a marketing plan, book launch tips, like leading up to your publishing date and so forth. And in between, help you to self-edit. Of course, I always suggest getting an editor, a professional editor, but and I've been blessed to have great editors with my various publishers. But in the meantime, get it in shape so they accept it to edit, and so that you can get it published well. I always say to my students, you can't put lipstick on a pig. So I know that's harsh, but you need to write it as well as possible because you're writing it for God and others. So
The one strategy I always like to talk about is editing, because I feel like, especially in this world where many people self-publish, the editing is the thing that really is going to make the difference between your book being an okay or a good book and a great book. And editing is for your book to make it the best it can be. It's for the reader so that they can relax and enjoy your book instead of feeling affronted or even having to set it aside. It's for the editor, the book, acquisitions editor, who may want to take it with a traditional publishing company. They have to see that you've put the effort in. And a lot of times what gets skimped on when someone is writing is the editing. So after you're done with the draft, make sure to put it through some edits before you send it to the next step, even in editing. You just can't go wrong investing in editing. That's just such a, to look like a pro, you really have to have many eyes on a book. I want to move on to the expert or prestige of the book. And this has a lot to do with the editing again, but you can't edit something that doesn't exist. And your book actually moves you from someone who says, I want to write a book someday, to someone who has written a book. And talk about some of the doors that has opened for you.
Yes. Well, that first book became a second book and a third book. I now have 5 novels out and writing the 6th. And what it gave me was credibility as a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking helped sell books, and having a book helped me land speaking engagements. So it really works both ways. Usually the best speakers are authors and the best authors are speakers. They just go hand in hand, which is all what your organization's all about and why I'm in it. It just, when you go to speak, let's just say 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people usually want something more from you. That if they love you, they want to something to take away. So you have back of the room book sales. And it's such a great feeling to sign copies and, hand them something that they can take home and learn more. And then again, if they want more, they read the book, they may want even more. So if you have a consulting business or training program, they will come to you for more information. And usually that leads to several books, which, like you have, Marnie. So when I first wrote, people asked me, how did you do this? How did you get it published? How did you write it? How did you, publish it? And how are you doing this? How are you appearing on television and landing these speaking gigs?
Yeah.
And so that I realized, I started teaching at my local college, then COVID brought it online. Then I developed this masterclass because people want to know how. They don't have all the time in the world, even with AI and Google out there. They don't have all the time to figure out how. So they just need a helping hand, a mentor, and a coach, and that's what I do. I teach the craft, like how to write description and dialogue, and even nonfiction needs good story in it. Like Maya Angelou said, people don't remember what you said or did, but they remember how you make them feel, and you only have the power of your words to do that, and you have to reach out and grab the reader from the first page. So I help them to weave it all together to do that.
No, I love how it's all circular. I call it like a spinning top, and you can kind of get it going a little bit, but it kind of falls every now and then, until you get the right mix, and then all of a sudden it really spins. And for a speaker, they really do want to take you home. If you're a good speaker, they want to take you home with them. And having books at the back is a way to do that. And for a good writer, they really just want to meet you someday. They would really love to just meet you. And so being a speaker just makes a lot of sense. I love that. And the other opportunities it opens up too. So you can make more money. We kind of touched on this, book sales and getting higher fees. I want to just give it to you back for a moment here. But when I'm welcoming a new speaker at womenspeakers.com, we build together what I call a 30-word wonder. These are the 30 words typically that a planner is going to copy and paste right onto her poster, right onto her program. And it's the brief introduction of the speaker. It has 5 components. And the first component it has is the speaker's full name. The second component is their credibility factors. And the reason that being an author adds credibility is because anyone can sit at a table and say, I think I'll be a speaker. But when you have written a book, the event coordinator that you're thinking of speaking for, she recognizes that you know how to take a project from the very beginning idea all the way through, communicate clearly, get it published. That is a whole different level of communication than someone who just only does speeches. And it's not that speeches aren't anything, they are. But when you combine those two, the credibility of that speaker goes up, which is why you said so many great speakers are authors and so many great authors are speakers. They do go hand in hand. It's all communication. You're communicating something, and you just have to develop your skills in a different way to be a writer and a speaker. Right. So what are you thinking about this, the money part?
Well, I'm thinking that to make money, which there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I have writers coming to me saying, is that wrong to want to make money out of this? And I'm like, absolutely not. If you make too much money, you can always donate to charities, give to God. But it's not about the money so much as getting the word out, getting the book out and speaking whatever your message is out there. And what I'm thinking is you need marketing help. So none of us are born marketers. I just happened to be in that field for a long time as a copywriter with an ad agency, and then so on. I was first a reporter. So I've always had writing as part of my career. And the thing is, no matter how you're published, self-published, published with, one of the big 5, as they call them, the Simon & Schuster or Crown or any of the others, you, HarperCollins, you need to be your own publicist and your own best marketer. And, again, you can try to do that on your own, but it's really hard. There's a lot of good information out there, but I try to do it in an organized fashion where you start with a plan and then you prioritize that. That's important for any business. You need to treat your author career like a business. Even if you've written one book, treat it like a business and put your whole self into it. And you know what? People, just like speakers, people are investing in you, the author. So they want to know why you wrote the book. You can put that in the book, and you can also speak about that. So they want to invest in you as well as the book. Think Karen Kingsbury. You why do you keep reading her books? Because you not only like her books, but you like her.
Yeah, right.
And she's a good example because she does a lot of public speaking. So, yeah, and you as well, and me as well. So,
yeah, it's the goal. It's the goal. We hope that you like us.
Right. Yes, people learn and read from those who they know and love, just like anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then as it's pretty difficult to be a speaker and to become very famous from only speaking. That simply rarely happens. It will happen occasionally, but most speakers who become famous and can generate the higher fees typically have books, at least one best-selling book, but otherwise books. And oftentimes they have a story. So they have been an Olympian or they've come through, a horrific life situation. There's something. It's very difficult for someone to actually rise to the highest levels of, and when I say highest levels, I just mean of being in demand. So the difference, like womenspeakers.com is a directory, but a speakers bureau is a higher level than a directory. So a speakers bureau, people pick those speakers and pay more for those speakers because those speakers bring with them an audience. If I book a past president, there will be people who've never heard of my organization before who come simply because that name is on the poster. Most speakers, and pretty, not all of us, but I mean, we have some bureau level speakers at womenspeakers.com, but most of us aren't at that level. We don't bring a huge audience with us when we come to speak. We bring some, but not like that. And so that's kind of the difference is when you're writing, it can take your visibility in the culture, in the world, to a different level where all of a sudden now people will come way out of their way to come and hear you speak. That means that the people who need speakers want to have you come because they want exposure to a new audience, the audience you bring for their ministry or their event or whatever it is. So that's kind of how this works. It's not it isn't an invisible path. The path is that you have to put something out that people can consume en masse. And that's what a book is. That is what a book or a movie is. So talk to us real quick here, a strategy on getting your book done in a fraction of the time.
Well, I guess I'm promoting my masterclass a little bit, or my book coaching. I work one-on-one as well, but I have a formula that really works. So over 80% of my students and clients have gotten published faster than they could on their own because I do give them that roadmap, and not only the chapter outline, but the whole guided instructions with handouts and editing in between and one-on-one meetings that guide them along the way, step by step. So it's easier. And you're counting on the knowledge, you're relying on the knowledge of somebody that's been through the process, but also in a class setting, you're helping each other. So people from all levels can take the class. And yes, so what you want to do is take things step by step. Again, don't jump ahead to marketing when it's not written yet. Focus on the writing. The best investment, like you said, I love that, was on the editing because it has to be professionally edited, in my opinion. And, but it starts with self-editing. And then you find a publishing path that works for you. Well, you might say, I have no idea. Well, that's what I can help you with as well. So you self-publishing is doable, uh, but there's pros and cons to each of these publishing paths. Reaching out to try to get a literary agent may take a little more time, but you might not have to make an investment. With self-publishing, you might have to hire a cover designer or an interior designer, that type of thing, because not everybody knows out of the gate. The thing is, you want to do your first book well. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And then you want to do the marketing in a methodical, planned way too. Make sure you have everything set up, like a website is super important, email marketing, social media, all the rest. So you just need a guide for some of this. And it tends to be, I think, more fun in a class setting where you feed off each other and get to talk about you and your book and just like learn in a loose classroom setting where you feel safe and free to participate and learn the step-by-step process. It's very comprehensive. Again, you're not just learning a workshop on marketing your book or a workshop on editing or a workshop on point of view. A lot of writers don't get that at first, but you know, you get it. Like, it's not just an individual workshop and you string them along and then you're still like left saying, how do I do this? It's a step-by-step process.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I think I'd like to use the analogy of if you were going to take a trip again and you just didn't quite know where you were going to go. You're just going to get in your vehicle, or you're going to go to the airport and you're going to see what flights are available. I mean, we never do that. But yet when it comes to some things, we kind of start without knowing where we're going. And I feel like, the roadmap, the having a path, the having a plan, this is the way to do it faster, is you have a very specific idea in mind and you're going to go. And of course, you're going to add things and move things around as you're going. But in the same token, if you don't know where you're going, it's not going to be fast and it's not going to be easy. And it's also going to be uncomfortable. I've helped other people and I've built so many websites. And with website design, what I know is that if you don't know what you want to begin with, it gets so costly because they've already put these things in place that they, you kind of thought you wanted, but then you're like, oh, but I really want this other thing. It just becomes almost untenable. At some point, you almost have to start over. And I think with your books, you really want to just sit at the beginning and do some prayer and just ask God, where are we going with this? What is your vision for this? Who is it for? Do all that avatar stuff, do all of the stuff that lets you know what you're going to be doing when, and it's going to work out faster. Do you have a final, we have about a minute left. Do you have a final just strategy for somebody that they could just use right now today?
Call me or email me. I will send out information and visit my website, michelechinoweth.com, and sign up for just a one-on-one 30-minute introductory or discovery call. I am just happy, no obligation, just to sit with you and talk about your book project and guide you from there. I can answer questions. I can help you because I really do have a passion for helping the Lord's work it out there to build the kingdom. And I just want to help writers become authors to do that.
Good. Well, thank you so much for being here. And you guys, thank you for being here. You want to reach out to Michele at her website, Michele, and her last name is spelled CHYNOWETH.com, and also over at womenspeakers.com. And we'll see you next time. Bye.